It was an ordinary autumn evening when my friends and I decided to explore the mysterious cornfield that stretched out behind my uncle's farmhouse. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the golden sea of cornstalks. We were drawn to the eerie atmosphere, fueled by the countless horror stories we'd heard about cornfields, so we thought it would be fun to explore. The sound of rustling leaves and disappearing sunshine grew eerie as we moved closer and closer into the field. The cornstalks towered over us, and the air had this heavy feeling with an unsaid tension. We laughed nervously, brushing off our discomfort as our imagination. The cornfield appeared to go on and on forever, with its winding, narrow lanes winding in a confusing pattern. A small comfort came from the occasional glimpses of the farmhouse in the distance. But as the night closed in on us, the house's notable silhouette became farther away. The thick layer of maize leaves prevented the moonlight from penetrating, creating unnerving shadows that flickered over the uneven surface. It wasn't long before we realized we had lost our way. As we staggered through the never-ending corn maze, we started to panic and our quiet voices echoed off the vegetation walls. Abruptly, the temperature dropped, and the cornfield became shrouded in a distressing stillness. There was an overpowering silence when the sound of rustling leaves stopped. We looked at each other nervously, we stopped giggling. There was this unsettling feeling, like the air itself was holding its breath. As we pressed forward, a faint glow appeared in the distance. We hurried toward it in the hopes of finding our way back, feeling somewhat relieved. The light grew brighter, illuminating an old barn tucked away in the middle of the cornfield. The wind made its worn timbers creak violently, and the lights flickered frighteningly. We stepped carefully toward the barn, curiosity winning out over fear. As we pushed the door open, it creaked and we were met with a scene out of a nightmare. In the faint light, everything was covered in a thick layer of dust, and rusty farm tools were hanging from the walls. There was a strong stench of decay in the air. But what caught our attention were the faded photographs scattered across a makeshift table. The images showed faces twisted in anguish, frozen in time. A feeling of dread settled in the pit of our stomachs as we realized these were the faces of those who had wandered into the cornfield before us. There was an unearthly buzz in the air as we looked through the pictures. We froze, staring at the photos of those who had perished. As the temperature continued to plummet, a farmer with hollow, ethereal sorrow-filled eyes suddenly appeared in front of us. He started talking about a heartbreaking story of a long-forgotten family curse that bound his spirit to the cornfield. He explicitly mentioned those who entered were fated to join him in an eternal purgatory. We shuddered in horror when we realized the gravity of our situation. Terrified, we sprinted out of the barn and tried to make our way through the cornfield maze blindly in a desperate attempt to escape. With every turn, we felt like we were getting closer to the wretched curse of the cornfield. Exhausted and disoriented, we stumbled upon a clearing where the moonlight broke through the dense foliage. In the distance, the farmhouse emerged like a ray of safety. Adrenaline rushing through our bodies, we ran in the direction of the familiar structure. The stifling atmosphere evaporated as we emerged from the cornfield, leaving us breathing and trembling. We would never forget the terror that occurred in those frightening rows of corn. A dare to remember, George. Little did I know that this seemingly harmless dare would become the stage for a nightmarish encounter that would forever haunt my life. So there we were, me and my buddies, goofing around in this cornfield at dusk. It started as a dare, just trying to prove we weren't scared. We were so young and foolish. The cornfield was massive, with stalks taller than us and paths that twisted all over the place. We joked about getting lost to each other as we walked through the cornfield on our narrow paths. As the moon rose, the rows of corn that seemed to stretch endlessly took on a disturbing tone. The laughter subsided as we went more into the maze and was gradually replaced with a rising sense of worry. At that moment, I noticed an odd arrangement in the cornstalks that looked deliberate, almost like a message. Although my heart started pounding at the sight, I dismissed it as my imagination going crazy. Still, I had the uneasy feeling that I was being watched. Then, in this open space, we found this old scarecrow. Seriously, it looked straight out of a horror movie. Its eyes seemed to follow us, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. But my friends just shrugged it off, telling that I was being paranoid. A knot tightened in my stomach, a warning that something dangerous was about to happen. Unexpectedly, a deep rumble rumbled across the darkness, giving us goosebumps. We froze, trying to figure out where it came from. That's when I noticed him, a shady figure just barely in the moonlight, hiding amid the cornstalks. The person stepped out of the shadows, revealing a hideous mask covering his face. He was at least 6 feet tall, and very bulky. He had a gleaming blade in his fingers, the moonlight glinting off its deadly edge. I felt a surge of terror as the truth sank in. We had stumbled upon a serial killer's hunting ground. He started laughing menacingly, a laughter that still haunted my dreams. His word clearly echoed in my head.
Run, you better run. As fast as you can.
Then he started chasing us, and the cornfield turned into a maze of terror. I was surprised he ran extremely fast for his weight. My friends got caught one by one. Their terrifying screams echoed the quiet night. Terrified, I ran for my life, the killer on my tail. It was like a messed up game of survival in that cornfield. Finally, I burst out of there, gasping for air, and didn't dare look back. Moonlight, long shadows, and distant cries, the whole thing was like a nightmare. Even though I survived, the terror of that evening never left me. I still hear their horrified screams every night as the lone survivor, feeling forever guilty. Alright, so me and my friends thought it'd be a cool idea to explore this creepy cornfield one night. You know, just for kicks. The corn was super tall, and the moonlight made it all mysterious. But as we walked deeper, things got kinda weird. Suddenly, we stumbled upon this old scarecrow in a little open space. Its eyes looked like they were watching us, gave us the heebie-jeebies. We laughed it off, but there was this odd feeling in the air, like the wind was whispering secrets to us. Then, we found this rundown farmhouse. It looked like it had seen better days. Inside, we discovered old pictures with people who seemed pretty sad. Just as we were about to leave, the door slammed shut on us. It was like something out of a horror movie. We heard footsteps and these ghostly whispers telling a spooky story about a farmer seeking revenge on trespassers. We freaked out, trying to get out of there, but it felt like the farmhouse was playing tricks on us. Shadows were moving, and the whispers got louder. Eventually, we found a way back to the cornfield and bolted out of there. Even outside, we could still hear those whispers and distant cries. The moonlight made the cornfield look even scarier. We made a pact to never go back there. That night still gives me the shivers, a reminder that some places, like the cornfield, hide a kind of darkness you can't really put into words. Now, whenever someone brings up exploring abandoned places or cornfields, I'm like, nope, been there, done that. Some mysteries are better left untouched, you know. That cornfield taught us that you never really know what's lurking in the shadows until you find yourself right in the middle of it. If you're enjoying the spine-chilling narratives we bring to you, don't forget to show your support by smashing that like button. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and ring that bell to stay updated on all things creepy and mysterious. We've got a lot more nightmares to share, and we want you along for the ride.